Hello, happy Wednesday. Right, just getting everything set up. There we go. It's Wednesday, and that means we're coloring. At least for now, that means we're coloring. I might be switching to something else on my Wednesday live soon, but I don't want to give too much away. So for tonight, we are coloring. And instead of coloring a page out of my coloring book, I thought maybe I would take some time to color some images that are going to go on Halloween cards, since I'm making Halloween cards since Halloween is next month. So I think that is what we're going to do. This really cute candy corn cat stamp is from Newton's Nook, and it's not terribly big, just a couple inches by a couple of inches. So I figure we can get it done in one session. So I'm going to stamp in an ink that is alcohol marker friendly, since I'm going to be using some alcohol markers. But I'm also going to be using an ink that is made for no line coloring. So this ink is kind of like a warm gray. It's called Jellyfish. It's from Lawn Fawn. And I'm going to be getting rid of the lines when I'm coloring anyway, using my acrylic markers, but it will be easier to get rid of them if they're light gray instead of the normal black ink. So as you can see, the image is stamped, but it is very light, and that's what we're going for here. I'm actually going to stamp another one while I have my ink out. Just going to make it easier for us to do the kind of coloring that I want to do tonight. And that coloring is, I'm going to be doing my base colors in alcohol markers, and then I'm also going to be using some acrylic markers and possibly some colored pencils, maybe a gel pen. We'll see. We'll see how things go. So I've not colored this image before. I am going to leave the stamp set on screen for anyone who's coming in and likes this and wants to pick it up. I ordered from the Newton Nook website, but Simon Says Stamp also carries this brand. Okay, so I've got my couple of images here. I don't know if I'm going to color them simultaneously or just one at a time. Probably should just do both of them and get that taken care of. Now, if you're like me, well, like I used to be, you have a hard time remembering which color goes where in the candy corn. Like, we all know that it's orange and yellow and white, but where do they go? So I have a way to remember now, and that is, it's fun to bite off the little tip and make it look like a little baby tooth. So that's the white part. Hi, Mark. And then if you think about what candy corn is, it's a kernel of corn, and the main part of the kernel of corn, the part that sticks out from the cob, would be this part, and so that's the yellow part. So that's the yellow, that's the white, and that means that the orange is going to be in the middle. So let's pick an orange marker and a yellow marker. I'm going to be using my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers for this, and I need a nice candy corn, yellow, and orange. I think I'm going to go with GY3 for my orange, and LY1. I think these two right here are going to be my orange and my yellow. Hopefully they are here in my stash. Let's see. LY1. Okay. just remembered I have a few markers that are off to the side because they were the colors I was using on a particular project, so I just had them set. Aside. All right, so let's start with the yellow, which is going to be the largest part of the candy corn. And I'm just doing some very simple coloring for this. I'm not even going to be doing any shading. Not with the alcohol marker. Now, I am going to need another color of orange because he's holding a little jack-o'-lantern. I suppose a jack-o'-lantern could be another color. But I think I'll probably do it in orange. I'm just going to come over and do the same thing on the other. And I apologize, I don't know who Charlie Kirk is. Thanks, Jackie. These are actually stamped images, so I can't take credit for the drawing. It's the stamp right here. And what I'm doing tonight is just coloring the image because these are going to go onto Halloween cards. Thank you. So it's a lot of fun. I do enjoy coloring. Thank you. Thank you for all the nice compliments. So I'm using alcohol markers to do these base layers, and this is the boring part, honestly, is getting down the base layers because there's no shading and it's hard to tell what the final picture is really going to look like because I don't have any of the details in there, but it is a necessary step, so we're starting from the beginning. The more you practice when you're young, the better you'll be when you get old. So keep drawing. I'm sure you're very talented already. I do love to draw myself. I don't draw a lot these days, but I do enjoy it. When I was in high school, I loved art class. Took every art class that they had to offer. Art, drawing, sculpture, painting. We had pottery classes. Goodbye, Nerd Cat Meow. Well, that's a nice thing. When I was in high school, we didn't have YouTube, and so now it's so easy to find classes online, you know, even just shorts or reels or TikTok videos, and you can learn so many things from people who are so talented, and you don't have to go anywhere. It's like the learning comes to you. When I was in school, if you wanted to learn, you had to find someone to teach you, or I guess you could go to the library and maybe check out a VHS tape or something, but everything is so much more accessible now. So the top is going to be white, so I'm just going to leave that alone. And I hadn't really decided what color I wanted to make my little kitty, but I do love gray cats. So maybe we'll do a gray tonight. Let's see. Or maybe I'll make the cats different colors. This is my swatch. This is what I use to choose my colors every time that I do color. I think I'm gonna do this BG1, which is like a brown gray, and maybe I'll do an MB2. So I'll do a brown cat and a gray cat. Just make sure I've got those colors in my stash over here. It's the MB2 and then BG1. Let's see. Yes, okay, perfect. They're both here. So I am not drawing tonight. I am coloring the stamped image. My next stream will be, well, I'll be on at this time next Wednesday. That's my normal time. But I may be on a couple more times this week for a couple of special things, but I won't be coloring again until next Wednesday at this time. So for those of you who are watching, have you ever stamped before with like a rubber stamp? Oh, thanks so much, Jackie. I'll see you next week. Have a great week. I think that stamping is so fun. It's very satisfying. And I love to draw. I'm not saying don't draw, you should draw. But there's something about stamping that is so fun. And for those of you who like to be a little more creative than just using someone else's stamp, you can actually carve your own stamps. And that is what really sold me on the hobby, because then you can draw your own design and then carve it out of the rubber, and then you can stamp it over and over and over again. And that is just so satisfying. Jackie says that their live streams are broken and only mine is working. Maybe nobody else is live tonight. I don't know. I was saying a little earlier, this is the most boring part of the coloring, is just laying down that first layer of color. Necessary, but not extremely exciting. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for joining us. So I'm doing 2 of these because since I'll have my markers out anyway, I just figured I might as well. But speaking of markers, this one is super dry, so I don't think I'll be using BG1 after all. Let's see if we can find a replacement. I don't want anything too dark because I want to be able to do some shading. I think this BG2 is much too dark. Let's try BG3. Hopefully that one's not dried out. It's very sad when your favorite markers start to dry out like that, especially because these ones, if you want a new one, you have to get a whole box. And so if I just want to replace one marker, I actually have to get a bunch of new ones. This one is not dried out. This is much smoother. Do you have a favorite color of cat? I don't know if I have a favorite anything. I love so many things. It's hard for me to pick favorites. But my favorite cat that I ever met in my whole life, his name was Luke Bryan, and he lived with me for his whole life too. He was a great kitty. Okay, it's got some base colors down. I also need to do some gray for around his head. Oh, I guess we need to color. I didn't realize because of the stamping here that this is his neck. So we need to color that. And over here, I'm keeping my stamp here so I can be reminded what it looked like because I can't see all of the detail anymore. That's his little neck. But I need to color this space behind his head inside the costume. So I'm just gonna use a gray for that. And then I need to pick another orange for my jack-o'-lantern. Let's see. So a gray. I need to pick something different than the gray that I used for the cat because I want it to look different. And it's the gray that's the inside of the white tip of the candy corn. So I don't want it to be too dark. You know, I guess it doesn't have to be gray. I guess it could be a light color. I wonder, I might even do the tip of the candy corn in this TN1, this tan one. That's very light. It's practically white. Let's start with that and see. I'm also gonna grab another orange for my jack-o'-lantern. I think I'm gonna go with maybe this OR2. Okay, I need TN1 and OR2. I've had these markers for a long time, so I'm never shocked when I pull one out that's dried out, but probably should be testing them before I put them onto my final thing. Okay, so this one looks okay. That looks okay. All right. So I picked out this TN1. It's just a very light tan. And I'm using it for the tip of the candy corn, even though the tip of the candy corn is white. Just so it has some color against the background. And we can add some shading around the outside to create some contrast. And then I probably will lighten this up a little bit too as I'm adding my shading. All right, but for right now, that definitely helps quite a bit. And so if I'm using this TN1 for the shading behind it, I might use TN3. And that would be the part that's like inside the costume. I'm looking to see if TN3 is on my shelf and I don't see it, so I think it's packed away with another project. Let's look again. Let's see what else we can find. Maybe this FS1. Let's see if that one's here. That is a similar color to this TN1. It has a little more. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I think that'll work. So, for those of you that are just joining, happy Wednesday. I'm working on some Halloween cards, and tonight I'm just doing the coloring. So this is the stamp set that I'm using, and we're starting with the alcohol markers. Okay, I grabbed an orange for my jack-o'-lantern. Color that next. And as that alcohol ink is drying, can kind of see the no line coloring ink behind it. So to stamp my image, I used jellyfish ink, which is like a very light gray. And that's just to help make it easier for this to be no line coloring. Let me see if I can put that ink pad on the screen too. Okay. Hello again, Jackie. So I haven't made a lot of progress since you've been gone, but we're still moving forward. I do have most of the alcohol ink down, and I really do think that that's the least fun part, so we can move on to something a little more interesting. Cute. I think these cats are going to be adorable when they're done. So I've already used this many markers. I'm going to leave them off to the side in case there's anything that I need to touch up. And I'm moving next into my acrylic markers. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to be outlining everything. So instead of there being black lines on my image, we're going to have colored lines that match the colors of the picture. And it's just a different look. There's nothing wrong with the black lines. It's just fun to try something different. And I really like the contrast of the acrylic marker with the alcohol marker. And if you haven't used them before, acrylic markers are basically paint in a marker. And so for a lot of us, it's easier to control than a paintbrush. And so that just makes it a little more accessible to get images that look like they were painted. I personally love painting, and I really enjoy using a paintbrush. Bye, Jackie. See you next time. I really enjoy using a paintbrush, but these markers are so much fun. The ones I'm using right now are from Sharpie. These are called Sharpie Creative markers, and they come in a couple of different styles. So this one is the original, and it has a bullet tip, and the one I was just using has a fine tip. And I like both of them. This one gives me a little more control, but there were more colors available when I bought them in the bullet tip. So that's why I'm using this one now, because I needed a darker orange, and I don't have a darker orange in the fine tip. All right. Getting a little color down. Things are starting to take shape here. I'm gonna grab a yellow. Very relaxing to do this kind of coloring. using kind of the color of the ink, the paint here really doesn't match the color of the cap for this one. I should have known better when I grabbed it because I've used this marker a lot and I'm always disappointed. It looks green instead of like a warm yellow. So I'm just going to be going back over that with another color once it dries, and that's okay. That's no big deal. All right, I'm going to look for a gray. And now I can start to add some detail into my little kitty paws. Now, this is much more of a cool gray than the color I used. I used more of a warm gray, but that's all right. We can add some shading in there and bring it all together. Just working in steps, working in layers. And this fine point really is so nice to use and lay down the color. Hello, Stephanie. I am a fellow Halloween lover. I am definitely ready for spooky season. And I'm one of the people who loves candy corn, so I'm excited for that too. Do you have a favorite Halloween candy? I'm not concentrating too hard or anything, but it's nice to just color. Candy corn and lollipops. Good choice. Good choice. Okay. So we're starting to get somewhere with these. I need a brown. Where is the brown? Let's see. I might have to switch to another acrylic marker brand so I can get a brown. This is Artistro, and I have a bunch of different acrylic markers from them too. This one offers a fine bullet tip, which will be much easier to use for this than my Sharpie Creative marker with the broad, big bullet tip. That was not going to work for outlining my little kitty's head. Definitely not for his toes. Stephanie says, last Halloween she was an angel. Do you know what you're going to be this year? I dress up almost every year, but I actually did not dress up last year. We often throw a nice big Halloween party, and I had thought for whatever reason that I was skipping a year, and then a week or two before Halloween, it's like we don't have any plans for Halloween now. That's really lame, and none of our friends did because they usually go to our party. So we ended up throwing a party last minute and did not end up doing a theme or costumes or anything. We just got together and hung out. It was still very fun. This year, our theme is ocean, and so we are dressing up like ocean creatures and pirates and mermaids and fish. Stephanie says she might be a Dalmatian. I love Dalmatians. I am going to be a starfish, but don't tell anyone that's going to be at the party because it's a secret. Only you know. I already have my costume. It's super funny. I don't know what it is about being a starfish that cracks me up, but it's a pretty random thing to be. Well, let's keep going because I don't really love the way these are looking at the moment. Part of it is this yellow that was more green than anything, and when it came out of the marker, I really don't like that. We got to get rid of that. That looks a little better already. Do that over here. So these are going to be Halloween cards. I love to make and send cards. Halloween is my favorite occasion to send cards. I don't have a good reason why. I mean, I love Halloween, but it's just really fun to make Halloween cards. So last year I made 50, 60, maybe more. That's a lot of Halloween cards to make and send. So, okay. I know I need to get some detail into these jack-o'-lanterns. Maybe we'll do that. I'm going to use a Sharpie creative marker with that nice fine tip. That looks better. Okay. And I can kind of see the ink. Let me see if I can show you a little bit better. You can kind of see it in the light there. It's very fine. It's hard. So I'm going to be using my little stamp here as a reminder, because I can, I can look back at the drawing here and get an idea of where things are supposed to be. And if it doesn't match up perfectly, that's fine. Just want it to be close. So I'm doing his little triangle eyes and his little triangle nose. And now his jagged little mouth. So I can kind of see here and here. Yeah, it's hard to see this. Just kind of making up my own mouth now. That's okay too. And the mouths will look a little different from each other. Okay, that's fun. What is a white widow? I'm gonna let that dry while I work on the other jack-o'-lantern. This one, for some reason, is a little easier to see, even though it was the same ink and marker. Interesting. Okay, that worked out all right. Oh, a white widow is a type of black widow, but it's not black, it's white. I do love spiders. I know not everyone loves spiders, and that's okay. We have a black widow nest on our front porch. I don't love that it's there, mostly because sometimes we get packages delivered, and I think, is that black widow gonna lay eggs in the package, and then, it's gonna be in my house, and then there's gonna be baby black widows inside. I don't know. I don't love the idea of that. But, she's just living her life outside. I'm not gonna kill her. That's terrible. So I just hope that she doesn't crawl into my packages and lay eggs. And that's it. All right. These absolutely are going to need some shading. I'll be using colored pencil for that, but I'm trying to see if there's anything else I want to add with my markers first. I used the light orange to do my handles here. I don't think that they're showing up quite well enough, so I'm going to go back and do a darker color over that. But I might use that light color to do the lines on the face, like the lines that are here. So I think I'll do that first. So I have to remember where I put that. There it is. Okay. There's just a couple of lines down. 1, 2, 3. Just add that little detail. Ooh, got it on the nose. That's okay. Doesn't look too bad. And I need a darker orange. So I think this one has got to be darker than that one. This is an Artistro acrylic marker, and I like these because they have 2 tips, and it's double tipped fine and a dot. I don't find myself using the dot a lot, but this fine tip is really nice. This is not darker. Okay, this is like the exact same color. That's all right. Let's see what else we have. I might just have to be really careful with the Sharpie. I do have more Artistros. These are extra fine tips. These ones work a little different because you have to shake them. So there's a little ball and there's liquid paint in here, but these are a bit messier than any of the other markers that I've been using. And sometimes, sometimes they leak out a little bit, which is not ideal. So let's see what we can get going. So with these, you prime them and you push the tip in, and then that releases ink, or it says water-based ink. It's like a paint though. It releases it down onto the tip, and sometimes it takes a little bit. I think I was trying to use this one last week and I gave up on it because the ink it looks like the ink's never been all the way down, so I don't think I've ever had the patience. Let's see, I'll give it another minute. Stephanie, drawing and cats, those are 2 good things. You don't have to love spiders, because they probably don't love us either, but drawing and cats. This marker, it's just being so annoying. You can see the paint is there, just hasn't made it all the way down. From the looks of it, this isn't going to be dark enough either, so probably just wasting my time. I should work on priming that though before I try to grab it again for another live. So the darker orange that I have that's the same color as this is this one, but look how broad that tip is. I'm not going to be able to get a nice line in for that. So I will just add detail to that with maybe my colored pencils or something, just to make it a little darker. So yeah, I guess it's colored pencil time, and we'll get started with that. So I've been using acrylic markers. Before that I was using the alcohol markers, and now we are moving on to colored pencils. And I really like using these 3 mediums together when I'm coloring, because the alpha markers give me a quick flat base, and then I really like the way that the acrylic markers give some bold details, and then I just love the look of shading with colored pencils. So it's a win to use all 3 together. For my yellow, I think I'm going to use this Naples yellow, so I'm going to grab that. I am using Polychromos for this, and they are all in a nice container and they're all in order, so it makes it easy to grab the one that I need. But I'm gonna grab a couple. So I've got my yellow. I'm gonna get a couple of orange. Let's see. I think we'll do this 113 orange glaze. And then I also need one for my jack-o'-lantern, maybe this 118. So 113 and 118. They're upside down. Let's see. 18. There's 13 and 18. Okay. So I've got my first 3 pencils. That'll be enough to get us started here. And hopefully I've chosen something that's dark enough that's going to show up. With yellow, you know, you never know. This is showing up just fine. And so what I'm doing is I'm adding some darkness around the outside. And what that does for us is it makes it look round. The darkness makes it look round. Gives us the illusion of roundness. So you can see, just comparing these two, this one has more visual dimension from that little bit of colored pencil shading. And I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'm not doing a fancy stroke. I'm not using any particular pressure. I'm just, well, and I'm at an awkward angle because of the way my camera is set up, but I'm just putting down enough that I can see it, and then I'm moving on. That's it. Stephanie, I'm very sad to hear that you cannot have a cat. Are you allergic to cats? Or someone is allergic to cats? So I'm doing the same thing with this orange. Just going around, adding in some shading. Not doing anything too fancy, but it starts to add some dimension. And it happens so quick. That's my favorite part, is how fast it changes the look. I'm not adding a ton of pressure or anything. I'm just watching and seeing, is there shading? And if there is, then I move on, and that's it. Nice. Okay. So my next color is this darker orange, and I know for sure that I need to go dark on the inside of my jack-o'-lantern here. It's definitely going to be nice and dark in there. And then I'm going to be going around the outside and adding shading. So while I'm coloring, I'm having a chat with Stephanie about cats. She said she can't have one because my mom is allergic to cats, and I got a dog. I won't get along with a cat. Yeah, and it might poop everywhere, and then there's fishies, and they might get eaten. Yeah, okay, those are all good reasons. Maybe someday. Maybe someday you'll have a cat, or maybe you'll just love your friends' cats, or the cats at the shelter that you volunteer at. There are lots of ways to enjoy cats without them living in your house. I didn't have cats for a long time because I knew a lot of people that were allergic, and so I knew if I had cats and they couldn't come over, but eventually I got a cat. And now I just have a dog, and he is really great. But I think he likes being the only pet. I really do. I think he's happy just the way things are. So we're not going to get a cat until he's passed, because we just want him to live out his long doggy life happy and as stress-free as possible. So that's why we don't have any cats. But I love everybody else's cats. Okay, so I think the most fun part of this is going to be adding the shading to the cats. We've been talking about cats. Time to color the cats. And we need a gray and a brown. So this cat, the acrylic marker that I used is more of a cool gray, and the marker that I colored with is more of a warm gray. So gotta be really intentional when I pick out what color I want to shade him. I think it's hard to get too close. I'm thinking I'm gonna do this warm gray for 273. Let me grab that while I'm thinking about it. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to look up the number again. Okay, warm gray 4. And then for the brown kitty, there are more browns. I guess we're going with 283 burnt sienna. All right. So let's do the gray kitty first. I might change my color after I start, so we'll see how this looks. This isn't bad. Yeah, this is fine. Okay. I think I'm happy with this. Yeah, maybe I'll see you back for Halloween. I am going to be creating lots of Halloween content in the next couple of months. I love Halloween, so. So I'm just taking my gray, my warm gray pencil, going around the outside, and my goal here is I'm trying to blend the colors of the outline into the lighter shade of the flat coloring, and that gives us the illusion of roundness, and then it also just starts to pull everything together. So this little bit, this is his neck, so I'm going to just do all of that dark, and then for the rest of this, I'm just trying to stick to the outside, leaving some of the light color in the middle. And it's okay if there's not a lot of that lightness, but the goal is darker on the outside, lighter on the inside, just to give us the illusion. There's also quite a bit of difference between the shades of the outline that I used and the color that I colored in the base with, because I don't have a lot of colors of gray acrylic markers, so I couldn't get a closer match. So this really helps to fix that little issue. Stephanie asks, name 4 of your favorite holidays. Well, is my birthday a holiday? Because if it is, that's probably number 1. I love Halloween. I love Christmas. I love New Year's. And I love Valentine's Day. So those are probably my 4 favorites. Would you agree with those choices, or would you swap them out? And for the rest of you who are watching me color tonight, I'd love to hear about your holidays too. What kind of holidays do you like to celebrate? And you know, I'm really not picky. When it comes to celebrating, like, let's do it. I don't know, there's always so many hard things going on in the world. I would rather find things to celebrate than feel sad. Rather celebrate things and people and events and memories. All right, so there's our gray kitty. Might add a little more to his face. I'm gonna switch over to the brown kitty now. This one, the colors matched a little better between the marker for the outline and the marker for the inside. So this is a little bit easier to blend them together. This little guy, he's a stamp from a company called Newton's Nook, and Newton was the name of the cat that they modeled their original stamps after, so the whole company is named after a kitty cat. He's so cute. They've been around for a long time. I'm not sure if the Newton kitty is still around or not. Easter, that's a good one too. I'm not sure why I love birthdays so much, but I think it's just because it's not just my birthday that I love. I love celebrating individual people. And for myself, it's not about like getting gifts or having attention. I don't really like it when the attention's on me, but it's always such a good reason to get people together. And as you get older, what you'll find is that it is harder and harder to get together with your friends because everyone is very busy, and it's harder than when you're young. So when you're young, really enjoy that and all the time you get to spend with your chosen family, with your friends. And then when you're older, celebrate everything and have lots of parties and invite them over, because otherwise you might not see them. So yeah, it's about having a reason to get people together. That's why I love my birthday so much. It's a good excuse. Okay, these kitties are looking pretty cute. Not totally happy with them yet, but they're getting there. I think I need to do a different color gray. I think I need a different color gray to do for my shading for the white here. Let's see. Maybe this warm gray too. Is that 271? Yeah, when you're young and you don't have a job and you don't have to support a family and you don't have to pay bills and you just have to go to school, do what your parents tell you, it's really not so bad. Because then you have more time to just hang out and spend time with your friends, spend time with them in real life, not just on your phone. We had the internet when I was a teenager, but it was different than it is now. We used to talk on the phone so much. Like, why didn't we just go to each other's houses and we just talk on the phone for like 3 hours every day? It's like the thing to do is just talk on the phone. But, I think we're making good progress, but I'm still not totally happy. I'm bringing in this darker orange, which was the one for the jack-o'-lantern, to the side here, just to add a little more contrast to my orange. I think that is helping. the same thing on this one. Yeah, that's pretty cute. I really don't like the white tip, but I might just have to accept that that's how it is. That might just be the result of all the different layers I did trying to make it better, and I just made it worse, but nothing bad will happen. I do need to add, if you see this lighter orange here, this is meant to be the inside of the costume, and then there's also a little bit here where his head's poking out, so I've got to figure out a different color for that. Stephanie said it's glitching. Can somebody else let me know, is my feed glitching for you? I'm gonna grab another colored pencil. This is not quite black, but it is a dark brown. And I'm just gonna use this for the inside of the costume. Hopefully I can give this enough contrast that it makes sense as to what it is. Not a terribly different color than my brown kitty. That is very nice of you to say, Stephanie. I have not been scheduling my lives because I'm never sure if I'm going to be able to make it, and so I have not built up a regular audience yet, but that's okay. I think with time it might grow. It doesn't hurt my feelings or anything. Besides, if there's too many people, it's hard to chat and hear what everybody has to say. I'm gonna add a little bit more shading inside. A little jack-o'-lantern. Oh, and it's 6 o'clock. I need to jump off of here. Stephanie, was so nice to chat with you. Everyone else, thank you for joining us. We'll be back next Wednesday, probably with some more coloring, probably Halloween themed, if I had to guess. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.